Iran's state media now claims that that country's Navy has prevented the U.S. military and U.S. military ships from entering the Strait of Hormuz. This is just as President Trump, as I mentioned, says that American forces will begin guiding ships through that very same strait. A note here, a U.S. official tells CNN that guiding is not the same thing as escorting, as has long been discussed and not implemented, which, yes, raises a whole host of questions about how this actually works now. And so far, shipping data shows almost no traffic is moving there still. On this announcement from Trump, Iran responded by publishing a new map of the strait. The red lines that you see right there, those are the boundaries of the expanded zone that Iran now claims it controls, and warns that, well, the quote is, any foreign military force will be attacked if they try to approach or enter the key oil route. Overnight, gas prices ticked up about a penny, but the national average, remember, we've been tracking over time, has jumped 35 cents in just a week to $4.46 a gallon. Let's go to CNN's Kevin Liptak. He's live this morning for us at the White House to start us off. What are you hearing about all this? There seems to be quite a bit happening as we speak.
Right. And I'll start with some of those claims that we've seen in Iranian state media over the last hour. You know, I've been talking to officials. No one had heard that an American ship had been struck, which was one of the claims that you heard from one of the Iranian state media sources. Now, Central Command, just in the last few seconds, coming out with a statement denying this, saying that no U.S. Navy ships have been struck. U.S. forces are supporting Project Freedom and enforcing the naval blockade on Iranian ports. So trying to clear up at least one of the pieces of information that's out there as the president tries to get traffic flowing again through this critical waterway. You know, in the past, the Iranians have claimed to have struck American vessels. It turned out not to be true, but I still think it underscores some of the risks that are inherent here as President Trump tries to get vessels flowing through this Strait of Hormuz. It has the possibility, if the Iranians fire back, of breaching the ceasefire, which is still in place, but obviously something that the president doesn't want to be affected as he tries to pursue a diplomacy with Tehran. You know, it's not precisely clear what some of the American assets that CENTCOM has said will be involved in all this will actually be doing. They say it will involve guided missile destroyers, more than 100 aircraft, drones, 15,000 service members, but how all of those assets sort of play in to reopening the strait isn't precisely clear. An American official said that Project Freedom was not an escort mission, and so we don't know exactly what guiding will mean. I think the suggestion is that the military will essentially coordinate with these ships to show them which channels in the strait are the safest, and sort of through their presence in the region provide some reassurance to these vessels. But of course, this claim today by the Iranians, I think, just underscores why so many shipping companies and ship pilots don't want to cross through the Strait of Hormuz because they believe it is unsafe. So a number of challenges, I think, for the president. That's underscored by what we've seen in the shipping traffic just this morning. They have shown that virtually no tankers or cargo transiting through the strait, despite what the president said would be going into effect today. Of course, you also have the diplomacy at play here. Yesterday, the president saying that he was disappointed. He thought the Iranian proposal was insufficient, but also at the same time saying that these discussions are very positive, saying that they could lead to something very positive down the line. And so I think a lot of conflicting information here as this new initiative takes effect.
We have conflicting reports, frankly, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. U.S. Central Command is denying claims by Iranian state media that a U.S. warship was struck by Iranian missiles near the Strait of Hormuz. This is happening just as President Trump said that American forces will begin guiding ships through the strait beginning today. Now, we should note that a U.S. official tells CNN that guiding is not the same thing as escorting, so it's really not clear how all of this is supposed to work. Iran does claim that it has prevented U.S. military ships from entering the strait today. It also published a new map with red lines showing the expanded zone that Tehran now says it controls in the strait, so you can see an area both inside and outside the Strait of Hormuz. Iran warns that, quote, any foreign military force will be attacked if it tries to approach or enter the strait. So far, shipping data shows almost no traffic is moving there. The strait, as far as we can tell, is effectively still closed right now. Overnight, gas prices ticked up a little bit. The national average has now jumped 35 cents in just 1 week to $4.46 a gallon. Kate?
Let's talk about all of these conflicting details coming in and just the state of things, especially in the Strait of Hormuz. Joining us right now is Democratic Congressman Subramanyam of Virginia. Thanks for coming back in. On this move announced by the president, do you want the U.S. Navy starting to guide ships from foreign countries through the Strait of Hormuz? Because the president's talking about it as a humanitarian gesture, though it apparently does not include U.S. Navy ships actually escorting other vessels.
Yeah, it's still unclear to me how that's helpful, whether that will get more ships through the strait. Certainly, if we can pull off a scenario where we can get ships safely through, that is a good thing for our country. It's a good thing for the war, good thing for the entire world. But the reality is this was not an issue before this war started. And Iran has gained leverage throughout this war by claiming the Strait of Hormuz and by controlling it. And so anything we can do to undermine that control is a good thing. But let's remember that this was not an issue before this war, and more reason why this war has been a disaster so far.
Congressman, if this is essentially to challenge Iran's effort to control the strait, a senior Iranian official is saying that any U.S. interference in the Strait of Hormuz would be a violation of the ceasefire that the U.S. had agreed to. Do you think that's the case?
No. I think any ship should be able to go through the Strait of Hormuz. We do not recognize Iran as being in control of the Strait of Hormuz. And so ships should be able to go through, and any act of war by Iran is a break of the ceasefire if they fire upon a ship that's trying to get through the Strait of Hormuz. So I reject what Iran's trying to say. They're trying to use this as leverage. The issue here is that they didn't have the Strait of Hormuz as leverage before this war. They were trying to get nuclear weapons as a way to gain leverage over the world. But this war has given them new ways of gaining leverage over the region and the world. And so anything we can do to undermine that is a good thing.
European leaders are meeting today, kind of talking about the path forward now and reacting to the sudden announcement from the Trump administration that they are pulling 5,000 U.S. troops from their station in Germany. The German chancellor downplaying it, though other European leaders say the timing did come as a shock. What's your reaction? Is this a smart move? Does this help further U.S. interests abroad?
It does not help further U.S. interests. The reality is we are treating our allies very poorly. This has been a trend in this administration. And if this administration wants to build consensus and gain support for this war across the world, undermining its allies is the opposite of what they should be doing. They should be working hand in hand with our European allies, but instead we have undermined that relationship. This is once again a failure of diplomacy. This entire administration has been a failure of diplomacy. And so this absolutely undermines our own interests in the region and in the world.